Grow stronger. Grow your faith. Grow wiser. Grow in your roles as a mother, father, son, daughter, husband, wife. Grow better. Today is your day to be better. Let's seize the moment. Good morning and welcome to Growing Better Spiritual Workout with yours truly, Carlos Head. For a few moments, we just share with one another the gift of life, and I get the opportunity to share a principle and a characteristic with you that I believe would help us to be better this day in growing and just becoming better, whether it's as mothers, as fathers, as sons, daughters, friends, in our career, in our finances, in our health, just overall taking a step from where we were yesterday so that at the end of the day today we will be able to look back and really be able to capture that we took an intentional step towards growth. And before we get started, as always, let's just take a moment to give thanks to Source, or God, or Allah, Jehovah, whatever we call him, for the gift of life today. And as I always say, one of the best things we can do each and every day to ensure that we're going to grow intentionally that day is to ask ourselves the question, how will I grow better today? Again, whether you're asking yourself because your desires to be a better father, better in your career, a better mother, better friend, better husband, better wife, better boyfriend, better girlfriend. I just believe that you have to ask yourself the question in order to get answers to those questions. And unless you're doing a stand-up job currently, then it's a question that I believe we should all be asking ourselves. And even when we're doing as well as we think we can, I just believe that we can exceed that glass ceiling that maybe we've set for ourselves that says, this is it. I just believe that we are equipped to continue to grow. And today we're going to take the opportunity and we're going to grow more. Again, I believe if you ask yourself the question, it forces us to begin to devise answers that then helps us to move towards that. But more than that, it helps us to be accountable when we find ourselves not moving towards the destinations that we desire. And on today's episode of Growing Better, we will challenge ourselves. I'll present the message, but it'll help us to challenge ourselves to be more caring about ourselves and about others. So the topic of today's episode is simply that, to be more caring. Just to be more caring to ourselves and to each other. But you might ask, isn't being caring a sign of weakness? Isn't it a sign of weakness? I mean, doesn't it expose me to be let down and disappointed because I cared about something or someone and they've not met my standard? They've somehow let me down from the expectations that I had for them. Doesn't it expose me to those type of having to deal with those type of emotions? Absolutely it does. Shouldn't I just continue to live the way that I've lived or that has become the norm, which is to be concerned about myself, to be concerned only about myself? And I say to you, no, beloved, caring is just a sign of being a good and a decent human being in a global community. It's just a sign of saying we're both in this thing together, and I win when we win. Whether that's in our homes, whether that's in our communities, whether it's in this world at large, the more we care, the better we become. And yes, it does expose you to the possibility of disappointment. Absolutely it does. It exposes you to the risk that others will attempt to take advantage of your care and your kindness. Absolutely it does. But people are going to disappoint you whether you care about them or not. We just live in a world where we live amongst humans. And that means on occasion, we will be disappointed. Sometimes we'll even disappoint ourselves. So the idea that we should try to avoid disappointment means that we're just trying to avoid life because life comes with some disappointments. It's just the way that it is. But I believe that it's important that we begin to care more. One, because you have to ask yourself, what are we winning by not caring about one another? Really, what are we winning? I can think of a couple of things that has resulted from not caring about one another, but I wouldn't equate those things with winning. I mean, you look at what happens when we don't care about each other. One of the things that happen is we develop strained and difficult relationships. When you don't care about one another, it's difficult to create a great relationship because it eliminates some of the intimacy of just humans among humans. When we don't care about one another, we create a world divided and we become so tribal to the point of self-destruction because we find ourselves trapped in these us versus them mentalities for living. And if I don't care about you, you don't care about me, and I'm in my tribe, then the only people that I'm concerned about are the people that's in my tribe, and you become associated with them in the game of us versus them. It all stems back to our ability to care about each other, to care about ourselves. When we don't care about ourselves, we find that people, just look around. Just look at our interactions with one another, and you will find, and it's crystal clear that people have lost our humanity. They've lost their humanity because we've put our souls and our spirits to sleep. And we've done that for greed. We've done it for power. We've done it for fame. And we've done it for influence. And in so many cases, we do it just out of a blind loyalty to our labels. Whether those labels be political labels, whether they be religious labels, whether they be racial labels, or whether they be national labels. We put those things ahead of our spirit and our soul, and they become more important than caring about one another. See, when you stop caring about one another, you can see it playing out every day that people no longer make the effort to disagree without being disagreeable. When we disagree now, it's just an all-out, blown-out exercise in how low we can go, how derogatory we can become, how much I can give them of my mind. That very rarely represents a person caring about another person. It's important that we care about one another because caring represents the best of who we are as humans in our interactions with one another. If we don't care about one another, we start to destroy one another. If I don't care about what you think, then I just become abusive in my own conversation with you because what you think doesn't matter. So it's important we become more caring to ourselves and to others. And the third reason that it's important we care is because God created us to be people serving and caring about people. He didn't create us to be people hating and hurting other people. But that has become our norm, so much so that, again, caring is seen as a sign of weakness. We avoid caring because maybe it exposes us to disappointment and letdown. But I'm just here to say, beloved, that not caring is in part, a large part of why we are where we are today. And if you look around, it's pretty obvious that humanity is broken. We're broken in our homes. We're broken in ourselves. Many of us, we're fighting ourselves more than we're fighting others. It's just that we're broken. We've exchanged soul, we've exchanged spirit for money, for greed, for lust, for fame, for power, for blind loyalty to are labels, and it's creating more narcissistic people. It's creating more non-human people that are only intent with creating chaos and destruction among us. And we just can't continue to exist this way and think that things are going to be better. Plus, not caring is just plain lazy, beloved. Yes, it's easier to hate. It's easier to judge. It's easier to turn the other way when you see someone that's in need. It's easy not to care, but it's human to care. And I just believe that if we're going to grow better, if we're going to be intentional in growing better and being better to ourselves and to others, that it involves us becoming more caring about ourselves and others, because we're not living in we're not living, though we are living in some form of isolation because of COVID. We're not created to be isolated. We're created to be in community. And in community, one must care about each other in order to have healthy, whole dynamics among those people. I get it. I get it. You look around and all you see is that it's acceptable not to be caring. So it's easy to fall into that trap of then just emulating what you see. I get that. I get that. But we can't live that way and then expect different, in spite of the fact that what we see and believe to be our norms aren't really healthy norms. They're dysfunctional norms. They're dysfunctional norms because they're destroying us. They're destroying humanity at large. They're destroying our ability to communicate with one another. It's destroying our ability to reason and to be civil and decent with one another. So I just believe that as we intentionally grow today in our caring about ourselves and in our caring about others, there's 6 areas, maybe 5, that I'll get through today. I don't want to be extremely long, but there's 5 areas that I believe we can never love or we can never care too much about a person. Now, again, I'm not saying that we should care so much that we become crippling to another person, but there are areas and ways that we can begin to care more about ourselves and others that then help us to be better, help us to have better relationships, help us to have better lives, help us to have better finances, help us to have better interactions among ourselves. And the first area that we can develop a greater sense, a greater degree of caring about ourselves and others is in our families. In our families, we can begin caring more about what and how each other feel, how we're doing. Many of us get so absorbed in our own lives, in our own situations, in our own problems, even in our homes. We become so consumed with technology that we isolate ourselves. And I don't care about your desire that we sit at the table and eat together, because I have other things that I have to do. And my ability to care more about what you desire becomes really diminished. My desire to even equate your desire with mine becomes diminished. And then you find that the family begins to break up. If not physically, certainly emotionally and spiritually. You just find people that are living in the house together instead of being a family. But I just believe that if we begin to care more about how each other's doing, what's going on in our lives, that it draws us back into proper relationship with one another. In our family, we can be more caring about our communication and how the things we say impact and affect others, how our words and our actions impact others. But if you don't care about that, then you just walk around with this narcissistic personality that is all about me and what I think and what I believe and what I need and what I want and how I feel. But we live in community, and the better we are at caring about each other, the better our realities are. It's just a fact. So I say, care about each other. Care about each other enough to be your best in your roles in your family, whether that role be as a mother, whether it be as a father, whether it be as a son, whether it be as a brother, whether it be as a sister. Care enough about one another to be your best in your roles in those relationships. I mean, you can't get what you've already done. You can't get that back, but you can start today. Maybe you hadn't been as caring as you could have been, but you can be today. We can change today. Can't change what's been done. Can't change where we failed. Can't change where we've succeeded, but we can change today. And today we can decide that we're going to grow better. We're going to be better in caring enough about our families to be better fathers, to be better mothers, to be better husbands, to be better wives, to be better sons, to be better friends to one another, to be better humans. And I just believe that it creates an intimacy in your relationship. The more you can care about one another, the closer you become to one another, because I begin to feel you. I don't just begin to see you, but I begin to feel you. And as I feel you, it creates a degree of empathy in me. It creates within me a desire to want to know, to want to help, to want to serve, to want to ensure that I'm being my best, to ensure that we're our best. It just helps to create an intimacy in you that says, I care. I care. And so many of us in our families, in our relationships, in our lives, just need to know that somebody cares. They care about me. They care about what I think. They care about what I feel. They care about what I become. And I just believe that the more we become caring in our families, globally, the better the results, the better the realities that we create, the better the harmony, the better the dynamics in our communications, in our families, in our communities, on our places of employment, and collectively, globally. But if we don't care about each other, then we're going to continue to abuse one another. We're going to continue to find ourselves gripped in chaos and self-destruction, thinking that we've got to kill our way to the top, thinking that we've got to hate our way to success, thinking that we've got to put others down in order to be lifted up. They're just signs of not caring about one another. And I believe that when you flip that and begin caring about one another in your family, it just helps to produce healthier, happier, more in tuned interactions. Because we're all in this thing and we're all concerned about how the other is doing in this thing. I'm going to stop here and we'll just call this session 1, part 1, and then I'll resume tomorrow and we'll conclude with part 2. But again, I don't want to get into longer messages, though they are needed. I do understand that this is a morning workout, and the whole concept was to keep it short and simple so that we could have something first thing in the morning that we could use in being intentional in growing better each and every day. And I want to keep it short and simple, but God just put this on my spirit, and it was a must that I share it with you. So we'll pick up with part 2 tomorrow. Thank you. Goodbye.